Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Your Blank What Now podcast. My name's Marcy Nettles, and I am your host. And I have to tell you, this episode is going to blow your mind because I think it's something that's going to really relate to many of us in our journey. As we get older, things change, and sometimes things that happen to us in our childhood create beliefs and understandings in us that cause us all kinds of problems. So my guest today is going to be amazing in helping us see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, because that's what this podcast is all about. It's all about showing you the stories of people that have been in really difficult places, but have figured out a way. Sometimes it's taken them a while to figure it out, but oh my gosh, they figured out a way to get to the other side and breaking through into their destiny. And so we want you to know that there is that breakthrough opportunity for each and every one of you. So my guest today, Miranda Sommer, FDNP, is a passionate single mompreneur whose mission is to transform the health of the world through education. This once elementary teacher, now functional medicine practitioner, transformed her own health by losing over 100 pounds, recovering from several autoimmune conditions. She has also used the Reset with Miranda to completely transform the health and lifestyles of over 500 clients in the last 3 years alone. That's amazing. She developed the Reset with Miranda program to be a priceless education in nutrition, lifestyle, habits, and mindset to empower people to take control of their own health. This revolutionary program provides all the key components needed for achieving success, not only during the program, but for a lifetime of vitality for each client and their loved ones who will undoubtedly benefit as a result. She has scaled her business from 0 to multiple 6 figures by encouraging people to find power in vulnerability, which is perfect for this podcast, while sharing their stories to spread the message of hope and healing. Miranda has centered in the power of relationships and community to create an experience for her clients that keeps them engaged and fosters success through support and love. She also is honored to be a practice success coach and on the Leadership Council for Perfect Practice Mentorship to guide other passionate functional professionals in growing their reach and impact around the world. Her passion for education is fueled by a relentless pursuit of self-improvement and passing on what she learns to those who seek better for themselves and those they love. Together, we can reset. That is her lifelong motto and what she's taking to the world. And so for this episode, the title is You're Too Fat to Have a Baby. What now? Miranda, you're amazing and you totally inspire me. And I'm so grateful you said yes. Welcome to the What Now tribe in this show.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. It's kind of an out of body experience to be here, which I think we'll uncover as we start our conversation. Even hearing that bio just makes me go, wait, what? Is that me? So I'm just really excited and honored to be here with you.
Oh, thank you so much. And it's been a journey, right? And so when you're sitting in a moment, sometimes, it takes someone talking about where you were and how far you've come and what you're doing now for it to be like, oh my gosh, that is what I'm doing. And it's so awesome to have those moments. But I know that I'm not alone in having that roller coaster relationship with food as I grew up. And even now in my 50s, I still kind of have that relationship. Can you please share with the What Now tribe what your experience was in childhood and in your growing ages, and how your quest for losing weight really started?
Oh my gosh. Yes, it's definitely been a lifelong journey. I truly think that I started going on a diet when I was probably 6, 7, 8, like as far back as I can remember. I was always aware that I was chunky or a little overweight and that I was always trying to like sneak food, right? So I think I grew up the way a lot of people did with, just convenience foods and breakfast cereals and Pop-Tarts and the Chips Ahoy and all of those things. And I just remember like coming home from school and trying to sneak extra cookies or trying to get as much as I could, or, like when your mom makes the brownies, you want the biggest one, right? So I've just always had this awareness that there was a wrestle there and I was very self-conscious. And it's just been this perpetual battle that I can remember writing down calories on a whiteboard on the front of a refrigerator. I remember writing down the calorie content of my Cocoa Puffs, right? Or even doing like the Jane Fonda workout videos with my mom, like with the leg warmers and the whole thing. Like if there's a new workout video, that was something as well as part of this whole struggle with just being a little bit overweight or a lot overweight at some point in my life.
So is that how you were considered by other people or just really in your own eyes? Did you see yourself as being overweight or was it something somebody had said to you?
I did. And so I went to a really small school. So I grew up in tiny town, Monroeville, Indiana. It's literally a cornfield. And I had 15 kids in my parochial school class, the same 15 kids from like kindergarten through 8th grade. And there were 5 girls, 5.
Wow.
And I was the chubby one. And so there was talk about being compared to other people. I always just had this filter of like, I'm the chubby one or whatever. That was my identity kind of, right? Like if the girls got, frosted pink jeans, I wanted them, but I couldn't go find my size. Right. So there was just always something, in that little world that I had that kept me in that identity that was overweight. And I was always just trying to kind of fit in, even as, young as my elementary years. And that stuck with me through junior high because I had the same kids in my class until I got to high school. And there was only 100 people in that class too. So it stuck with me through there was always a quest for something, whether it was counting calories or counting carbs or the sugar-free thing. I got into high school and I was very active. I remember being in basketball and just remember tugging at my uniform, even though I was really active and I played softball and I did all the things. I just felt very self-conscious and very, just thought that everybody was looking at me, always tugging on my clothes and just really being uncomfortable in my body.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's difficult. I grew up in a small town as well. And I understand when you're in a smaller group of people, the focus is really easy to come onto one person and stay there for a while. And being that person can be really difficult. So in your home life, was your mom or anyone else in your family considered a little bit bigger or were you?
No, they were actually smaller. So my mom is pretty tiny and we lived an active lifestyle because, we grew our own food. We had a garden. Like I had the best, most wonderful upbringing, conservative, went to a church. So I had the best of everything. We just did what everybody else did. Like we just did what was convenient. We just ate what everybody else ate. We had bread and butter with every meal. And even though I was trying to count things, or it just seemed like no matter what I did, that it didn't work. And that carried on and on and on, like through high school, through college and on.
Yeah. Well, it's really an interesting thing about the convenience aspect of it, right? Because when you are really busy and really active, getting something into your body for fuel, if it's fast, it seems to be a good thing, right?
Right.
But, one thing that came to mind as you were talking there, especially because so I'm older than you, so I grew up a little bit before you did, but I know that my mom was always pinching the pennies too, and was really careful with her grocery shopping. And even, I mean, gosh, that's up to today, right? Moms are doing that. But what I find interesting is the things that you find that are on sale on a weekly basis or the coupons that come out are all low in nutrition and quality food. It's all of the quick and the junk, really, just to put a word to it.
Yeah, it's all the things that they're advertising that are in boxes and bags and the things that we really shouldn't be eating. But those are the things that I grew up on. Like I just remember being able to pick out whatever I wanted for my breakfast cereal, probably because the prize that was in the box, right? The marketing was to the children, right? Like what free thing can I stick my hand down into the Cocoa Puffs to get this week, right? That was the thrill. And it started a long time ago and it's still continuing, right? The problem that contributed to my health issues is, I think, growing even worse today with the convenience and the marketing and, thinking that it's cheaper to eat these foods, even though there's honestly no nutrition in them whatsoever.
Heck, you can get a Happy Meal for $1.99, right? Well, I don't know if that's still the price of it because we don't eat that, but it is unfortunate that children are kind of victimized by marketing and how food is presented. And so having that be part of your journey and having done the exercise routines and everything with your mom and trying to do everything. I mean, you were playing basketball, you were active,
Yeah.
but you were consistently pursuing something. What did your pursuit of happiness really kind of look like? And what did it lead to?
Well, the constant pursuit, I think I became an overachiever to compensate for what, you know, self-worth issues that I had around my body. So I was in all the things. I played basketball, I played softball, I was in band, I was in choir, I was the drum major, I was, the leader of the dancing and twirling the flags. And I was getting to school at 6 a.m. and leaving school at 10 p.m. because I was in all of the activities. I loved it. I loved it because that's the way I found kind of my validation and my affirmation that I'm good at this. Right. And I can now look back and say it's probably because I felt so insecure just with who I was and being so self-conscious. I wanted to feel like I could fit in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I'm afraid that way too many people, way too many children nowadays are looking for their way of fitting in, and most of it's very destructive. And when you're looking for things, especially for that reason to fit in, it can be really damaging to you and your psyche and the way that you think about yourself. Can you remember any incidences in your maybe teenage years or even early 20s that stand out to you to where you just had experiences that you could have really broken down in?
Well, I think what helped me together, and I'm so blessed, is I had such amazing, beautiful teachers that built up all of the things outside of the physicalities, right? So they built up the fact that I was talented in music, or I was, sixth of my class, and the education and all of those things. Like I found affirmations outside of that. And, I'm really thankful for that. However, there was always this underlying thing. It's almost felt like I could do anything but the thing that I wanted. I could do anything with ease except the thing that I really wanted. Is I just wanted to feel good, like as good as I felt on the inside about being capable to achieve all of these things. I just wanted to feel that way on the outside about my body as well.
Mm. And how much of your focus do you think went there?
Oh my gosh, most.
Mm.
Like it's something I thought about. The way that I describe it is every minute of every day. I was always worried about where my next meal was coming from. I was always worried about what I should and shouldn't eat, whether I was feeling guilt or shame for doing that or comparing myself to somebody else. Like when I was sliding on the drum major outfit that was too tight that day, wishing it wasn't, right? Or if I'm having my photo taken or video taken that the parents are taking for the activity, like how am I going to look in that photo, right? The show choir dress, the year that the skinny girl got to pick out the style of the dress and it was going to show all the rolls and bumps and things. And every time I got up there to sing, like I was worried about that instead of, being in the moment, right? Like that's what I don't want people to have to think about. I want them to be able to completely feel, you know, confident. It's not about the weight. It's about how you feel about yourself. And I think that really I know later in life that really affected my, just my mental health as it crept up because it was a growing problem, even though I was constantly working on it, like constantly joining Weight Watchers, constantly trying the new thing, Nutrisystem, every book at South Beach, you name it, I've done it, was truly the way of life by my early 30s, all through college and all of that. I was constantly going to the gym or trying something. And when you're 50 pounds overweight and you're trying that hard, but you feel like you can do anything else, you feel a little bit insane.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I know that you always had this desire for a family, and the pursuit of that family kind of led you to, part of what was some of your biggest breakdown in your life
Yeah.
before coming out of it, right?
Yes.
Can you share what that journey looked like and what it all included? Because I
Yeah.
mean, your first child was born, and you had some massive struggles with that. Will you share that with the What Now Tribe?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a little girl, like I said, I grew up in this tiny town and my mom was my hero. Like she stayed home with me and that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be a teacher. That's what I played right in my room. That's what I dreamt of being. I had my Cabbage Patch dolls, like, I'm sure you remember that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so that's what I wanted to be. Like, even though like through my education and all of that, like I knew I could be anything kind of with what I was able to achieve, but I wanted a family. That's what I wanted. I wanted the fairy tale wedding. I wanted to be a mom. That's what I wanted. And that's why I went to school to be an elementary teacher. Like every decision that I made, I put myself through college in order to become a teacher so that if I, had to work because I couldn't be a stay-at-home mother, at least I was going to give my opportunity to be the best mother I could be. That's why. Every decision I made from the time I graduated high school to that point was so that I could be a mom. And all the decisions that I made after I got married to my now ex-husband, part of the story, is that was about that. Like it even changed careers a couple times to move around with his job because that financially would get us closer to the house and the family, right? To be the mom. That's all that I wanted, right? And so on this quest to kind of set up the perfect life, we actually relocated a couple times. So I was a teacher for a couple years, was living in Indiana. And then we moved to Michigan where I couldn't find a teaching job. I had to pick up a couple other side jobs, which was very frustrating. That's where I actually learned to be a professional photographer, self-taught. When I couldn't find a teaching job, I had to do something that I loved and that I was passionate about, or that's just kind of, the way that I roll. I have to do something that I love. And we moved to Florida. And I was starting a photography business. I was starting a teaching business and I was working. So there's a theme here in high school where I was kind of burning the candle at both ends to kind of like fill the void, right? Fill the void, be busy. I loved all the activities, just like I loved the photography and I loved teaching and I loved the kids, but there wasn't a whole lot of time for me to love myself. Although I was trying, I was still doing the Weight Watchers and all of these things because I was growing in weight. So when I was in Florida, I think this was my early 30s, maybe late 20s, early 30s, working 2 full-time jobs. This is when I found myself at nearly the sickest. So about 100 pounds overweight in all of the dieting still. Right. Wow. But what happens when you're doing all of that dieting and you're burning the candle at both ends, at the end of the day, we didn't have a whole lot of quality of life because we were both working so hard to try to get to this goal, right? To be able to have the house and have the family and get the money all squared away, that we ended up like caving and it looked like burgers, fries, beer, and happy hour. Because in Florida, when you're a teacher at 3 p.m., nothing tastes better than a cold beer, right? And a lot of it. So even though
and a lot of it ends up being a lot of you,
a whole lot of me, but not a lot of me. Because what ended up happening is so when you live in Florida and so I was doing wedding photography, people don't get married in the time that you're off. They don't get married in July and August in Florida because it's hot. It's really, really hot. So I was doing photo sessions and weddings every weekend and coming home from school and editing photos till 1 or 2 in the morning and getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go back to teach my babies at school. And so what ended up happening is not only was my health getting increasingly worse, but I was not performing well at either one of those jobs, right? And I loved both of them. And so it was really tough for me, but I had to end up giving one of them up. And I think I gave up my teaching, which you don't give up a tenure teaching because you just don't do that. And the economy was not great at that period of time either. And so one stress after another just led to actually my ex-husband lost his job and we relocated to Louisville, where I am now, Louisville area. And those stresses just kind of compounded, right? And so having to relocate again, and I now look back and I see how impactful this decision was. Like I just decided to relocate here without any thought about it. And I had a 6-figure photography business that I just dropped in Palm Beach, Florida, doing photography for beach weddings. I just dropped it. I dropped it no matter how hard I worked and how much I loved the people that I had and all the, beautiful relationships. I just dropped it. And I didn't think twice about it because I knew what I wanted. I wanted a family and I wanted to be able to be home with the family. So that's what we did. And we moved here. And I think a part of me really died with that because I got really, really sick. So not only was I 100 pounds overweight, I was pretty depressed. But I was also very busy because I still was flying back and forth to Florida. So I was living like two lives. Like I had weddings booked. So I had to go spend 2 weeks in Florida and then 2 weeks here and 2 weeks here and 2 weeks there. So trying to plan a new life here while having one leg in the old life, I'm not quite sure that I should have left. And so, the dream was we're going to build a house and we're going to have the baby, right? That's the plan. But after 3 years of that plan and it's not working, we're not getting pregnant. What's going on is when we started going to the doctor, trying to figure out what's going on. And after like invasive tests on both sides, we were told there was like less than a 10% chance we would ever have a child, even with in vitro.
And how did you feel? How did you feel at that point? Because this had been what you had been, everything. Your pursuit of happiness was a family, meaning children.
It was crushing. It made me feel like so much of the effort was for nothing. And more than that, so I'm a pretty stubborn person, pretty motivated person.
You're an entrepreneur.
Yes, this did not make sense. So the first thing, so we tried all kinds of things. We tried artificial insemination, even though that wasn't going to work. We tried, just have to try, right? I have to keep that. I'm a glass half full person anyway. I think you have to be an entrepreneur.
Yes,
That's
yes,
why they say you're a little bit crazy. I'm probably a little bit crazy, maybe a lot. Kind of like that part now.
That's why we're good friends.
Yeah, right. And I'm really glad because all of these challenges that we're going to talk about, like, I'm so thankful for them. So like this pivotal moment where they're dishing up this news, like we'll never forget sitting on that crinkly paper in that, fertility office. Well, there's not much left that we can try until you start to do the hormone treatments and all of that, which none of it felt right. It felt so cringy to me. I was like, it's not supposed to be like this. I'm a God's girl. So I'm like, this is not the way this is supposed to be. I'm glad that this is here, like scientifically, but like, why can't my body do this? And I knew my struggle with weight. And when they said it to me, I will never forget, well, you could try to lose a little weight and maybe that would help. And I'm kind of like, if you only know how much I've been trying to lose weight. And so it was kind of like, again, it's just that one thing that I want. Now, the two things that I want are now tied together, and I knew that, right? And so at this point in time, I mean, it was just crushing. It was like my whole existence, like the whole world, like caving in on you. Like you hear the sound effect, right? What now?
Yeah.
And so after the depression probably sunk in, it's where the motivated, fired up, like I'm just going to get really hot until I figure out why. It's my favorite question. Why? Why isn't it working? Well, I get that I'm overweight, but why can't I lose weight? You're doing all of these tests on me, but you're telling me everything's normal, but everything's not normal if I'm 100 pounds overweight and I can't have a baby. That doesn't make sense. So a couple of things happened at that pivotal time that made me just have the hope, right? Because stories are hope.
Yes.
So my brother went away to college and he was 100 pounds overweight. So we kind of followed the same thing, my younger brother. And because I was living in Florida and he was back at home, we kind of came back together. And it was like, remember the show Extreme Makeover?
Yes.
Remember that show?
Yes.
It was Extreme Makeover, except it was my brother. He had lost 100 pounds since the last time I saw him. And I was like,
wow,
we're related. If you can do it, I can do it. And so he had kind of dove into some things. And so I started doing that. And this is where I became like, I remembered that I was athletic. Like I'm athletic. I used to play basketball. I kind of actually like it. Like I'm going to get myself to the gym. And so that's what I did. I hired a personal trainer and every day, 2-a-day workouts. I signed up for CrossFit. I was doing all the things because I had kind of said to myself, all right, before I go sign up for this in vitro thing and we go all in for the thousands of dollars it's going to cost, and I start sticking shots in my butt with hormones, which doesn't feel right, I'm going to give it an effort like I've never given it before. I have to take a couple months for myself and get this right. I have to. So that's what I did. And so that worked. I lost 50 pounds. My husband at the time also lost about 50 pounds, and it happened. We went to Mexico and we were supposed to come back, and I was supposed to make the phone call. Like the timing was right to call the doctor to start the fertility treatments. And I took a pregnancy test, and that was Cooper.
Wow.
And so that was a very empowering thing because I lost 50 pounds and I did what they told me wasn't possible. So now you can imagine how elated I was, right? Like, oh my gosh, there's a baby. There's going to be a baby. So I was obsessive about keeping my regimen, like eating right. And they were making bets, like when I was 9 months pregnant, of like, who's going to deliver the baby in the gym? Relentless. I gained 70 pounds during my pregnancy, doing the same things that I did to lose the weight.
Oh my gosh. You gained 70 pounds doing the same things you did to lose. That doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense until you understand the way that the body works and how the stress response dictates all things, which we will kind of circle back to. But during all of this, so I was like, less worried about that and more about having a healthy baby. And Cooper came out, kicking and screaming, looked me right in the eyes the day they was born. Like as soon as he came out, looked square in the eyes. I will never forget that moment. And, but after about 2 or 3 weeks, I wasn't able to breastfeed, which was kind of odd to me. It was something I was kind of crushed about, but I was like, okay, well, I don't care. Let me just feed my baby. That's fine. He struggled eating. So he struggled taking from the bottle. I thought breastfeeding was more just me. Like there's something wrong with me. And that's all right. We can still feed him with the bottle. It'll be okay. But he wasn't taking from the bottle either. And so about 4 to 6 weeks, this became kind of a thing. Like, okay, what's going on? What's wrong with him? They're like, oh, it's colic, or, oh, it's acid reflux. And so then they'd put him on a little medicine, or we'd try a different formula, or we'd try a different bottle, and he would refuse it. Like he would like turn his head. And so time was passing where my little Cooper, they developed their little personalities and start to smile and all of these things. He would flirt with me to not eat. Like I would set the bottle down on the table and he would just smile and coo and distract me because he didn't want to eat. And it was the weirdest thing. So, and I was worried because although it was a big baby when he was born, he kind of was moving down the percentile, but because he wasn't moving down the percentile fast enough, I couldn't get doctor's attention. I was like, something's wrong with my baby. And I spent a lot of time researching like what's going on. My instinct was like, it's not acid reflux. He doesn't have that. He doesn't scream like in pain. He just won't eat anything. He wasn't colicky at all. But I kept trying to ask to go to specialists. They kept refusing me. I went to 5 different pediatricians in the area. I got kicked out of a pediatrician's office when I asked for second opinion. And changed my son's formula without asking. And the last ditch effort was when this doctor that took in my file and started to read all of these notes over, this is now about 6 months of time, proceeded to give me a 20-minute speech about how we try to overfeed our children and stereotyped me because at this point in time, I had basically kept on all of my baby weight because I was in survival mode trying to keep my baby alive. And so the doctor stereotyped me for being overweight and said I was trying to overfeed my child without asking me one question about what my child had eaten. And he had taken 1 ounce in the last 3 days.
Wow.
I couldn't get
I would have been like out of my chair and like in that person's face. It's like, how did you handle that?
Broken out in hives. Like I was so frustrated because no one was listening to me. And I was like, just motivated again. I'm like, the person that's going to help me is going to be a mom, because obviously these doctors think, I'm nuts. I was literally like, do you want to like come home with me for like 3 hours and watch me try to feed him? Do you want to try? Like I was laying him on the table. I was dropping formula into his mouth. I was trying to feed him with a spoon, and he would just coo and laugh. And because he was so good spirited, they didn't believe me. It was the most frustrating thing in the world. And so a long story short is I just started telling moms, and I was pretty isolated at this point because, it was like 24/7 trying to keep him alive. Right. And I started making lists of things to go in a doctor's office. Like, tell me why it's not these things. Tell me why it's not this brain issue, or why it's not this, issue with swallowing or whatever. Well, I was going to a new church, praise the Lord, and decided to tell this mom, because we were supposed to go to a new dinner, but he was having a really bad night. We thought we were going to take him to the emergency room. And I just told her everything that was happening. And she said, my daughter had a similar problem, and we took her to a chiropractor, and everything was better instantly. And I had chills that like moved up my entire body, up my spine. I'm like, that's it. That's what it is. Because when he was a baby, I was holding him, he had this knot right here on his collarbone that they said it was broken, but it heals up fine. They do that. And it's very common. It's very common because they pull babies out. They pull them out instead of allowing, because it has to be fast, right? Moving in and out of the system, pull. And they said that it healed up fine.
For the system, it has to be fast, not for the baby, not for the mother.
Or the mama. Right. Yeah. Right. And so that, like, I never correlated those two, because he didn't have any physicality problems. He didn't struggle. Like it had to be something we couldn't see, right? Because they were doing all of these, they said they did swallow studies and all of these things, and they said it was fine. But then I was like, it has to be something that they can't see, because this doesn't make sense. And so I found this beautiful woman who I call her my angel, God rest her soul, because I was leaving her a message telling her about my son, and she was walking out the door, was leaving on a voicemail. She picked it up and she goes, how soon can you get him here? One adjustment. And we went out to dinner, where it was like every distraction in the world. And Cooper picked the bottle up off the table and started drinking it. And he was fine since that day. I took him back to the doctor's office like 2 days later and told them what happened. And they're like, we would never recommend taking them to a chiropractor. And I said, there is not one thing you will ever be able to tell me that did not convince me that woman saved my son's life.
And how can they not acknowledge that? It's so confusing to me.
It's such an ego thing. Like, it makes me so frightened, because all I think about is like, if I'm going through this, like what are other people going through? Right. And so that's immediately the question, was like, okay, she was like my holistic angel, and she started opening my world up to all of these things. Like, if this is what happened to Cooper, like with chiropractic, what do I need? And I started going to her. I started asking her questions and learning about that. And I needed to get my health back, because that 70 pounds that I gained, I kept it on, because I wasn't back at the gym. I wasn't doing all these things. I was eating Papa John's like 5 times a week, because survival mode. And so I got back into doing what I was doing. I actually joined network marketing and started selling a health challenge. And I was doing that when Cooper was about 18 months, like when I started to recover from that. And that's where I'm so blessed that I had that experience, is because that's where I learned that my passion truly is in educating people about their health. I just wanted people to find, found some success with losing weight, and I felt so much better, and I felt alive, and I felt like, I was really shy when I was a little girl, but I'm really not. Like, I love to sing and I love to dance, and I'm like all of these big things, and I love to travel, and all of these things I wasn't doing before. And then when I got into network marketing, I was doing those things, and I was helping other people do those things. And I was able to educate in front of large groups. And I found just like the energy and like, was listening to Jim Rohn and John C. Maxwell and Coach Dale Brown, and put in front of these best, like, motivational speakers. Like, I found this new planet, right, of people that were just jazzed, and I was addicted. Right. So I'm so thankful for that experience.
Yeah. Well, we all know that I love network marketing.
Yes.
So, and I would say that what my number one thing with network marketing is the personal growth and
Mhm.
who we are opened up to becoming
Yeah.
as we grow ourselves.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
that is huge, huge. So I love that. I love that you learned that you had a passion for helping people, a passion for teaching. And what did this passion lead you to? What happened next?
Oh my gosh. As well, it just made me start to ask the question, like, what have I been doing? Like I was always working to have, the children and the family, but I had those things, but I still felt unhappy until I found this like fulfillment in really serving others in my passion. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And honestly, with all of the stress that was going through in my marriage at the time, like we were just kind of on different pages. We were kind of so in it, like just a business. I felt a business relationship that the divide just became greater. We handled these challenges different. And I don't know if I became a different person. I think I just became more of who I was instead of trying to do the things that I thought I needed to do. Right. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's just a big like unbecoming or becoming that I was, right? I had to realize who I was becoming. And it was, although it was a really passionate time and I was having so much fun, there was a lot of conflict. Like I kind of felt like I was stepping into the world that I wanted to be, and then stepping back and had one foot into the world that I wasn't before. And they didn't line up very well. That was very conflicting because now I have a baby. And so during that time, I actually got pregnant with my daughter, Emerson. And during that pregnancy, so I had lost the 70 pounds that I had put back on, got back to that body, right? And got pregnant with Emerson and was instantly sick, like so sick. Nauseous, couldn't keep food down, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't get myself to the gym. And still gained 70 pounds. I was the exact same weight that I was when I had Emerson as I had Cooper, like to the pound, 70 pounds. But that was a very different one. And through that whole pregnancy, like I just kind of chalked it up to, oh, it's a girl with
Girls are
hormones.
difficult.
I'm older now. I'll feel better when she's born. Well, first of all, I was frightened when she was born because I didn't want her to like go through the thing that Cooper did. And she actually had really bad bruising. She came out so fast that her whole face was purple for like the first 3 weeks of her life. God bless her little heart. But not only did I not feel better, I felt worse. But the stubbornness in me and the motivational, kind of drive that I have from within, when she was 2 days old, I went down on my elliptical machine and I started at it. I started exercising to try to feel better because that is the only time that I felt better. Because I was just nauseous all the time. I was dizzy all the time. I couldn't really sleep. I was trying to keep the whole, care of her as soon as I can. Like, sorry, Jim, but I lied about her being 6 weeks old. She was only 4 weeks old when I took her so I could get back to the gym because I had to feel better. And at that point, it was about feeling better because I felt so miserable because I was kind of holding on hope that when she gets here, like I'll feel better.
Yeah. So after she was born, did you have any change in what you were experiencing, or did it stay the same, lessen, get worse?
Worse. It got worse because I was just tired because I was taking care of a newborn and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay. So Cooper was 3-year-old. So literally trying to just kind of keep myself functioning was truly a full-time job because of the way that I felt. I had such debilitating brain fog. Like I don't remember the first year of Emerson's life. I don't. So like Cooper, like I could put myself right back in the moment. Like when I see a video or a photo, I can remember those coos, like I was there. Emerson's like, I'm really glad I took that because I don't remember doing that. Like, I'm really glad I took that photo and that video of her because I don't remember being there.
Wow. That's scary.
It's very scary. And that things changed so quickly where I was like at the highest, like peak health and then through the floor so quickly. And I didn't understand why, because I thought I was doing things right? Like the best I'd ever had at both of these points when I was pregnant. And so I willed myself to the gym and doing all the things I did before, but it wasn't working. I wasn't losing any weight. I wasn't feeling any better. It's getting worse. I was having blackout migraines, exertion headaches, heart palpitations. And this is where I started to become more investigative about myself. So I was going to integrative doctors. I was having my thyroid checked. I was asking all of the questions. I was listening to podcasts. I started researching in between, just trying to like keep everything running, right? With 2 little kids. And so it was like, all right, what are we going to do? We're going to go on a vacation. So when Emerson was 9 months old, we're like, we're going to go on our first vacation. We're going to leave the kids. We're going to find a way. We're going to make it happen. Need a vacation. So I went to the gym and I was like, I'm going to go do some interval training because it's the only time I feel good. But I felt so bad. Like I nearly blacked out. And I was like, okay, before I leave my kids, I got to make sure I'm okay. So I drive myself to the urgent care down the street, and I get there and my blood pressure is like through the roof. They immediately freaked out and tell me what was going on, hooked me up to like an EKG, give me a nitroglycerin pill, passed out, throwing up. And when I came to, they said, you need to go to the cardiac unit. You're a heart attack or stroke risk. You need to go get hooked up to a heart monitor. They need to do stress tests. We need to figure out what's going on. So I am freaking out because I just like threw up, passed out. Now my blood pressure is like through the floor because they gave me this nitroglycerin pill. The only reason I knew what that was is because like my husband's grandmother had to carry one with her because she'd had 5 heart attacks. So I was freaking out. I'm like, I'm 34, 35 at this point. This should not be happening. And I will never forget this because after I came to, and they're telling me I need to go to the cardiac unit, they handed me the directions to get there. And they said, this is how you drive there. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
They're going to have you drive.
I'm like, do you want me to drive there after I just passed out? And they're like, he said to me like this, in these words, he said, you drove here, didn't you?
Oh, wow.
And that rings in my head because I don't want anybody to ever feel like that. And so long story short, spent the day in the cardiac unit all day. They ran every test, ultrasounds of my heart, all the things. And at 5 p.m. after being hooked up to a cardiac monitor, they're like, everything's fine. You can go home. I flipped out. I lost it. Mama Bear had enough. I'm like, what do you mean fine? Fine compared to what? Check my electrolytes. Like I've been doing research at this point. Like I'm not fine. And they're like, I'm sorry, ma'am. If you would like more care, you can go to the emergency room. And I said, I went to the emergency room and I ended up here. What is going to happen different? And I knew at that particular moment in time, just like with Cooper, that I was going to have to figure this out.
Being your own self-advocate. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to
and
take
so,
ownership.
yeah. So thankfully I went to Florida because I do believe it is a vacation that saved my life because I was wrecked. Like my body shut down because I got to the beach where I could actually relax. I didn't have my babies with me. They were with my parents and thankfully watching them. And I know that if I had not gone on that vacation, I probably would have continued to exercise and I might not be here. Like I would have continued to push. But after I came back that next 90 days, like I was on the floor, like I could barely take care of my kids, but I was just trying to figure out what was going on because I needed to do it for them. Like not only myself, but I needed to do it for them. And I heard a podcast.
I love this because I truly believe stories save lives. So I'm so excited.
It saved my life.
Yeah.
A podcast saved my life. And I heard someone's story that sounded like mine, someone that was eating well, exercising, like the pinnacle of health, but had the same issue where they had this crash moment and it didn't make sense. Right. And this is where she was having a retreat. And I was like, I felt the call. And those of you that have like a calling on your life and you know what I'm talking about. Like I knew I had to be there. Like I knew the sun was in the sky. Like I have to go. I'm going to Northern California. I'm going. I don't know if I belong there, but I have to go. I have to be there. And at that retreat where everyone was talking about holistic living and sustainable farming, and we ate beautiful food, I was like, I found my people who understand what's going on with me. And I needed this. And there was a quote. It's a Marianne Williamson quote. It said, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, but we are powerful beyond measure. And that quote hit me here. And it was at that moment that I was like, okay, you have to stop living your life, 1 foot in one life and 1 foot in the life that you know that you are meant for. And not only do you need to help yourself, but you need to help other people. I've always had this kind of call to like serve and do something bigger. I just didn't know what it was. But at that particular moment in life, I call that my full surrender moment. Like I remember driving through the almond orchards in Northern California, and it's just where I knew everything had to change, and everything changed from that moment. And so that was about 8 years ago. My daughter, yes, she's 8. She's gonna be 9. And I came home and I went back to church. I joined the choir. I hadn't sang in 20 years. I joined the praise team so that I could be a rock star for Jesus, because I always wanted to be a
Amen.
rock star. And I
Yes.
started doing all the things that just felt like me. I also signed up to become an FDN. So that's a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, the study of functional medicine. And that's a beautiful certification program for anyone.
Well,
Someone who
before
is,
we move, before we move
yes.
on from that, please explain that. What is a functional practitioner?
Yes. So what is functional medicine,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So
Yes, please.
functional medicine is kind of belief that the body knows how to heal itself. Right. And the way that I explain it to my clients is we have all the proof that the body can do this, because if you cut your arm or your leg, like you don't have to take a pill or a potion for the body to know what to do. Like your cells
Yes.
are all programmed for that skin to heal back up. Right. But if we would take a knife and cut that same cut over and over again, our body can't work as fast as we're damaging it. So the job of functional medicine is to find the things that are standing in the way of the body being able to heal itself. Okay. So eating the right foods, eating foods that don't damage the digestive system or the immune system or our brain or our hormones or all of these things.
Yes.
And it's getting down to the root cause of all the things that I had. So I found out that I had Hashimoto's, which is, autoimmune thyroid condition. I found out that I had celiac disease. And all of these things I had to uncover by myself, but they all start the same way. They start like kind of like self-inflicted things with our diet, with too much stress. And the stress response kind of drives all of that. And that's for our survival. And so FDN, the beautiful program there, their slogan is education over medication, which fit me like a glove, right? Because I'm a teacher. And I'd gone, with my son's health and my health, like I'd hit so many walls, so many big walls, that this is it. This is what I'm designed to teach about. This is perfect. This is perfect. And so, yeah, in all of this, so I went back and became a practitioner, and things kind of fell apart as they fell together. And it was a really scary time because I also, went through a divorce. So when I started my practice, I had nothing, like single mom, no income. I hadn't worked outside the home since before Cooper, when I lived in Florida. But it was a leap that I had to take. And I joined this beautiful mentorship with my mentor, Sachin Patel, who I'd been following for a couple of years on his, things that he was doing online and everything. And he developed this amazing mentorship, which I think I almost manifested, because I wanted to be a client. Like I wanted them to be my practitioners, but I also wanted to learn as a practitioner, and poof, out comes this mentorship, which I joined like with the money that I didn't have.
That's the way it has to be, though.
It's the way
Because
it has to
if
be.
it's easy, we don't value it as much. We don't work as hard. We don't prioritize it if it's easy.
And it was one of the scariest things I ever did, because in this mentorship, there were all kinds of like, medical doctors and chiropractors and all of these licensed physicians. And here I am walking in, single mom, teacher, no income, into this first event in Toronto, Canada. And I was still like, probably 40 pounds overweight. I was like, who am I to be here? What am I doing? Oh my goodness. Why? But it was the best decision I ever made. And so being amongst those people, being amongst healers, seeing the hope, seeing the stories, hearing the stories of what's possible, and applying these things, and reminding myself that I'm a teacher. Like I'm good at this. I can help people do this. Like was able to do this. I want to do this for myself, and I want to help other people do this. And I believe I joined that in April, and in September, I started the reset. So I was given some skills that I learned there to become a practitioner, and I applied it to myself, and I started sharing my story. That's all I did. Started sharing my story on social media. And so 3.5 years later, we've helped 500 people transform their health, to lose weight, the thing that I couldn't do. I'm now helping people do. And better than that is when we help create health in the body, people are coming off their type 2 diabetes medication. They're coming off their high blood pressure medication. They are, balancing out their hormones. I've helped a good friend be able to carry a couple of babies. Like, all of these amazing stories. It is the most rewarding. Like, I can't imagine doing anything else. Like, I can't. So truly blessed to have had the challenges that lead to this. And last year, probably about this time, Sachin, my mentor, asked me to coach other practitioners within the mentorship. So now I actually coach other practitioners and help them have more impact with their clients, so that we can truly just change the face of health in our country.
I love it. I think that you've absolutely gone full circle. And in what you have learned and being able to teach others to be able to do the same thing with these practitioners, the way that you're mentoring them, I think it is just phenomenal. And I know that we've had conversations about vulnerability. I know I asked you to be as vulnerable as you possibly could on here. You mentioned that you share your story on social media, but you're a practitioner. Are you sure that's okay to be vulnerable on social media?
Yes. So that was a tough one for me. But when I realized how much power, it was that moment where hearing the podcast story got me somewhere, that if I could do this, then other people can too. And when people started to reach out, and then they just started to do what I was doing, I was just teaching them what I did. I was just inviting them into my journey. Like, I'm still doing the things that I'm teaching my people to do. Like, I'm still learning better ways to make my health better, and we're doing it together. And that's the best part. And we have a whole lot of fun doing it. But being vulnerable, like, that's part of who I am. So I like to say I have all of these like conflicting sides of my personality. So I can be a tomboy. I grew up on a farm. Like, I love to have my feet in the grass with my cut off jeans or whatever. But I also like to get all glammed up and be the girly girl and do all that. I like to, be like in the gym. Like, I learned to love the gym and sling heavy weights around or whatever. I got famous for like wearing my ratty baseball hat, because I just went live, sweaty from the gym, because people needed to see every piece, right? Not just the pretty parts or whatever. And I just feel like I couldn't relate to a lot of the things that I was seeking once upon a time. Like, I was trying to be like, I had the Cindy Crawford video where she was wearing the bathing suit, and I wanted to be like the bathing suit models and all of the things. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that wasn't very real to had been 100 pounds and then lost 70 pounds and then gained 70 pounds. And my body had been through some war.
Yes.
And I knew that people needed to know that, because they were probably being told the same crap that I was being told, that nothing was wrong. And I could care less about, the way that I looked or whatever I wanted them to hear what I was saying.
Yes. Well, I think it's really important for them to hear it, and also to see you doing the things that you're doing. It's like recently we were on a Zoom, and you made the comment that this is the first time I've worn a tank top.
Mm-hmm.
The first time, even though you had lost all this weight, and you have done that just now, you've worn a tank top, meaning that we have to constantly be working on our mindset and the way that we think about ourselves, the things that we say to ourselves, because you probably could have worn a tank top before this point, but it was just up till now, you weren't quite ready. So one of the things I love about what you were saying in teaching people what you did, one of my recent guests, Andre Norman, he said that if you do the things that you've done, or you don't ever have to study, right? You just have to remember.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember and show others what you've done and they can start doing the same thing, it doesn't take formal education necessarily, but it takes a good example.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yes.
think that you have been a phenomenal
Oh,
example in
thank you.
vulnerability, in sharing your battles, because you've been to war. You have come out of it, I would say, victorious, and you're still going strong. You've got so much more to do and provide,
Yes.
but you have come so far. Would you mind thinking about yourself back when you were younger and you were struggling with your weight, not really able to figure out why you were the bigger girl of the group? What is something that you would go back and say to her, knowing what you know now, remembering what you've been through, and being grateful for those experiences at this point? What would you say to yourself back then?
I think just don't ever forget what you really love. Just constantly keep working towards those things that you love. Don't with that pull in your heart, like keep going towards it. You're not crazy. Like there's something bigger for you, right? So all of those things that I wanted when I was little, like they're coming true because I followed them. And that's where I think true happiness lies. Like, I'll tell you, I still haven't worn a bikini. Like those bikini models that like, there's a part of me that wants to do that just because it's a goal, but that's not what I want. I want, I want what I've been able to provide is have an impact on other people's lives. There is nothing more fulfilling than knowing that I want to get emotional, that in those full surrender moments where all I had was God to trust.
Yes.
And the message was so very clear that when it's really, really hard, that the abundance comes like tenfold, right? And it's all about the pay it forward. There is no better reward than watching someone else realize what life can be when they've struggled. And if there's something that just tugs at my heart every day is that the world is suffering, needlessly at the hands of a lack of education. Like I can show people what to do in a 20-minute conversation, but and it's so simple, but it's hard because the rest of the world is sending a different message.
Yes, it's so confusing and it's so loud. That message is so loud.
And so we just need to kind of like lock arms and do it together. And so that's what I think is completely different. And that's what I'm trying to create for people is the safe space for you to go on your journey, because there's going to be ups and downs and there's going to be things that you don't, you can't plan for, that you're going to have to work around, and that's just life. But we've got to learn some skills that we were never taught. We have to learn about how to create health, which we were never taught. We were never taught how to feed our bodies well. We weren't taught that there's consequences to eating things that aren't food. And then we really weren't taught the mindset or what true self-love looks like in taking care of this gift that we have, that is life. Like, as as moms, we want to take care of everyone else first. And we are kind of the last person that we take care of. And that's a really hard lesson for us to learn, but it's the most valuable one, that you can't pour from an empty cup. And I was forced to take care of myself so that I could take care of my babies. I don't want anybody to have to be in that position. I don't want anybody to go like, am I going to die tomorrow? Am I going to not wake up when I go to bed and my babies aren't going to have a mother? Like, I've got to figure this out. I don't want it to have to get that bad. It doesn't have to be that way. Right. And so, and it's truly what I teach is so simple.
And that's what I was going to ask. That's what I
Yeah.
was going to ask. I mean, because you said that you've helped over 500 clients in the last 3 years. That is amazing. What an accomplishment. So how simple is the Reset by Miranda?
It's so simple. It's the 101. Like I could truly teach you the strategy or the skill. Like I can explain it in 20 minutes. It's the everyday going to do those things and the mindset or of understanding, like, why do I feel so addicted to these foods? I'm an emotional eater. Well, we all are emotional eaters. Turns out that our biochemistry is that way. And you have a lot of things that you might be doing that are keeping you feeling addicted to these foods. It doesn't have to be that way either, but you don't know any different. So I need to help you out. So what we do is so simple. I can explain it in 10 minutes. It's the practice. It's the, what do I do when it's hard? How do I replace these habits that I've had for me? I'm 44 years old. I've had them for 4 decades. Old habits die hard, right? Especially when, like, within our community, which is like my family, by the way, like we are a family. That's one of the things that we do really well. We love each other. That's why this is so fun. We have a lot of fun doing what we do. Is that you have to have that support, because when you learn something, the rest of the world doesn't get it yet until you feel it from within and you're just changed. And then once you feel it from within, that's why I tell people, I'm like, give me 10 days and you'll feel it. And then you'll just know that you need to stay plugged in order until it's just what you do. That's just what you do. And then you love what you do. And then you go to bat for what you do because it changed your life. Like, I feel better at 44 than I did it at 14, 24, 34, and everything in between. And I'm not scared about the future. I'm excited about what I'm going to learn. I'm excited about, how many more people that I can help, or we collectively as a help. Because I don't think that this is not just a me thing. This is a we thing. Absolutely. Like, it's going to take a lot of people getting on board with this to like help families, because like our kids, oh my gosh, they need this. I don't want them to suffer the way that I did. I don't want anybody's kids to suffer like that. And if we don't get it right, our generation, listen up. If we don't get it right, it's going to be way worse for them. If we don't teach them, we have to teach them how to feed themselves, how to be empowered in their health, how to ask the right questions at the most important time ever in our history of the world right now.
Amen.
It's very important.
Yeah, we need to break those curses that have been carried out through generations. Yes. It's time for us to stop it and give our kids and our grandkids a better foundation. And it comes through the education, right? And so, Miranda, tell me, how can the What Now Tribe follow you, connect with you, what you got going on, what offerings do you have?
Yes.
That I know they'll all want to know about.
Well, I've been blessed that my business has truly grown mostly through Facebook. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, all at Reset with Miranda. You can also, I share a lot on my personal page too, just Miranda Sommer, SOMMER. And then my website is resetwithmiranda.com. And so you can check out things. There's all kinds of testimonials and of my lovely clients and the things that they've done. If you go to resetwithmiranda.com/group, I have a free Facebook group where I share even more like nitty gritty, and I have some free masterclasses and things in there. But if this is something that you would love just to talk with me about your health, like, I want to hear your story. I want to explain, how this would work for you, because that's the first thing that you need to understand. You need to understand like what's going wrong in your particular, what you're struggling with, whether it's weight or health, because all the things that you're experiencing are related. And what we do is the same. And so getting on a call with me, you see on my website, you can schedule a free call with me, and you'll fill out a little application, tell me a little bit about yourself so that I can ask you the right questions, and I'll explain how the program works. But so right now, if people schedule a call and they decide to join the Reset, I'm going to throw in an extra little one-on-one bonus package so they get some extra calls with me. Because this vulnerability piece is really important. I teach people to share their stories and the things that they're struggling with so that they can get help. We have so much trouble asking for help. So the vulnerability piece is so important, to just owning what we do and also getting the help that we need. Because we're not meant to do this alone, life alone, or these hard things alone. So, so that's basically where they can find me. And I love getting messages from people. You can send me an email at resetwithmiranda.com. And so, but resetwithmiranda.com is kind of the hub for everything, as well as if you search that on social media, you'll find a bunch of different avenues and pages there as well.
I love it. I love it. So I know that one of the reasons why so many people keep silent or don't share their stories is because they're afraid of judgment, and they're afraid that they are not in a safe place. So tell me about how safe this group is and the programs that you conduct are.
These are the most beautiful, heart-centered people ever. And everybody that kind of comes to me has been through a little bit of a war. This is not their first rodeo, right? We've all tried things that haven't worked. So many things. We're all burned, scorned, spent a lot of money. Maybe you're on medication, starting to be a little bit scared, but it's taking that first decision and that first step to truly ask for help. Like, I guarantee you that your success is my everything. Like, we'll get you across the line. And that's one beautiful thing about our community is that everybody's journey, nobody's done. Like, this is something, these are skills we learn for a lifetime. And that's one beautiful piece is I have people that were with me before I even started the reset program that are in the reset program and they're ambassadors for the program. So you're not just learning from me. The collective skills of the 500 people that have been here, they're all in there sharing and they're cheering you on. And people kind of become friends within the group, and we're tight. Like, we're tight. These are my friends. These are my family. I'm blessed to be part of the journey. And so I always say that the newest person gets the best experience because you get all of them. You get the most people. And I've watched people be scared to be vulnerable. Like, I ask people to make a video sometimes just to introduce themselves. And they're like, I hate this. I hate doing this. This is really uncomfortable, but because Miranda asked me to do it, I'm going to do it. And then they do it at the end. They're like, I'm so glad I did this because I wouldn't have been able to see how much I changed. And I really needed to see what I've been able to do. And people change really quickly when we give the body the right tools. It's amazing what the body can do. And that's what we do.
Amen. I love that. I mean, seriously, there are so many things that we consider miracles, right? But what we really need to look at and start giving it the credit it deserves is our bodies. They are the most miraculous things. What they are designed to do. I mean, as humans, we don't even understand it all yet, but it is definitely put in place to take care of us. And I love that you have created this community, this tribe of people to be able to support each other on this journey that is generally so uncomfortable. I absolutely love it. And I appreciate you so much. And I appreciate you being just a phenomenal, phenomenal guest today. Do you have any final words that you'd like to share with the What Now Tribe?
Oh my gosh. Just continue to follow Marcy and listen to this beautiful podcast and be inspired by stories. Like you said, it is my belief that stories save lives. The story saved my life. And I believe that's why I teach my people to share their stories when they're ready, because it's another life saved. And they know that. They know when they come to the experience that I kind of explain it. And my mentor shared this with me is it's almost like it's a life preserver. Right? If someone was in the pool or the lake or the ocean drowning, would you hold on to it or would you throw it out and hope that they grab on? And that's truly the way that I look at it is I'm going to be throwing that life preserver out any chance that I get and hope that you grab on. No one ever regrets if they grabbed hold. They regret that they didn't grab hold sooner.
Yes.
And so I'm waiting for you to reach out. And there's no bad questions. There's no wrong answers. Like, it's your journey. And I would be blessed just to be able to speak with you and help guide you in the right direction. If that's it. Right. So, and because I'm attached to so many beautiful practitioners, the best in the world, the cutting edge science of returning to nature, returning to food as medicine is so very powerful. And it's literally right in front of our faces and we're looking past it every single day. And so it's just an invitation for you to ask the questions like, what's not working for you and why? And don't feel like you have to figure it out by yourself. When I reached out for help is when things started to speed up, like exponentially in all areas of my life. And so that's what this is. This is just the hope that, it's possible. And every one of these stories that Marcy, thank you so much for sharing your passion to help other people realize the hope for whatever it is that they're trying to achieve in their life. Because it's the beautiful light that I know we are both called to be.
Yes, absolutely. I am so grateful that we came to the same space at the same time so that our paths could join. we're not crossing, we're joining.
Yes,
Right? Because we're going to move forward. We're going to move forward together in one way or another. But What Now Tribe, I just want you to know, I mean, you should go and absolutely get connected with Miranda. Go and find her website, the resetwithmiranda.com. Don't forget that /group so that you can get into her free group and learn more about her. And guys, if you are on this journey and you are at the end of your rope and you need to be able to find what will really work for you, Miranda just may be your best option with the solution. So please reach out to her. So Miranda, thank you so much for being such an amazing guest today, with your episode being You're Too Fat to Have a Baby. What now? Thank you so much. And thank you all for listening today.
Thank you so much, Marcy.
You're welcome.